Hope everybody had a fantastic Passover and Easter weekend. I know I did. I was busy all over the place. And yesterday, I spent a lot of time watching a lot of sports, including the Mets, the Yankees, the Nets, and we'll get to all of them. But I have to start with a conspiracy theory that I think has been brewing for a couple of years, and I want to get your opinion on it. 877-337-6666, and it pertains to the Yankees. Look, we know that the Yankees had so many expectations coming into this season because of all of the power that they have, the fact that they get to the postseason every single year. Aaron Boone, has proven to be a good manager. People are still holding out to see if he's going to be a great manager, if he can take them to places where they haven't expected him to go yet. It's going to be done on the back of their bats. Right? We know that Stanton can mash. We know that Aaron Judge can mash. We know that DJ LeMahieu can do some really great things. Aaron Donaldson, who they bring in for $50 million, he can do some great things. And the question was going to be, well, what about the rotation? Right? Is the rotation good enough? Those were the questions that we had. We know we're going to hit, but where's the rotation? What does that look like? And Garrett Cole he's been Garrett Cole. Hasn't been elite Garrett Cole. He's been pretty good. I think Luis Severino coming back from injury has been a welcome surprise. How energetic and aggressive and on point he's been after an early scare in the shortened spring training. Severino has looked fantastic. And then Nestor Cortez with 12 strikeouts yesterday. Nobody knew about Nestor Cortez. 12 strikeouts. He had an immaculate inning. And Higashioka almost gave his ball away, but Garrett Cole was able to get it back for him. Interestingly, I think the challenge for the Yankees is not going to be with the starting rotation, even though that was something that we thought. We know their bullpen is good, even though we might have a budding Aroldis Chapman issue. But the issue is where we thought the strength was for the Yankees, and that's in their mashers. I'm just going to throw some stats out here for you just for a minute. Back in 2017, this was Aaron Judge's first season. The Yankees hit 241 home runs. That was number one in Major League Baseball. Judge had 52. Sanchez had 33 that year. The next season, there was just power everywhere. In 2018, the Yankees also led Major League Baseball with 267 home runs. Stanton had 38. That was Stanton's first year. Judge and Hicks and Andujar and even Didi Gregorius all had 27 home runs, maybe even more, one of those. But around 27 home runs, it was power spread all over the place. Then 2019 happens, and we all know that 2019 was the last year of the juice ball era. The Yankees went bonkers. 306 home runs the Yankees hit in 2019. They were second in the league to the Twins. Somehow the Twins hit 307, but that was Glaber's year that everybody romanticizes now. He had 38 home runs. Judge had 27. Gardy had 28. DJ 26. Sanchez, smashed 34 home runs. And it was almost like baseball decided to say, well, teams are going to smash 300 home runs in a season, then we have an issue. And we need to de-juice these baseballs. We all remember this happened, right? They de-juiced the baseballs. Home runs went down. Obviously, they went down the following year because it was the COVID year. It was only 60 games. The Yankees hit 94 home runs that year, which was fifth in Major League Baseball. And then you go to 2021. The Yankees are back to doing what Yankees, they do. Judge hit 39. Stanton hit 35. They hit 222 home runs, which is sixth in Major League Baseball. And coming into this season, we all kind of said the same thing, right? I just laid it out for you. The Yankees are going to win. Why? Because they're going to smash home runs. They're going to find ways to win games with big bats, a one-track mind approach. We're not going station to station. We're just going to hit home runs. That's how we're going to bludgeon teams into submission. Maybe our staff is compromised a little bit, but we're just going to hit home runs, right? And that's what we expect. The Yankees aren't hitting home runs this year. And part of it makes me feel like Major League Baseball and the Yankees have a conspiracy theory against the Yankees. We know that they de-juiced the balls, but something happened yesterday in the Orioles game that made me say, did the Major League Baseball decide to tell these teams that can't win by adding big pieces, that don't have money to go get the mashers in baseball, and farm system hasn't been elite enough to develop mashers. The Orioles expanded their park. If you watched the game yesterday, you saw this, right? They moved the fences back, and it showed itself very early because Aaron Judge got a hold of one. Yeah, maybe he got a little bit outside of the sweet spot. It was at the edge of the bat, but usually when Aaron Judge has that swing, we know what swing I'm talking about. It's gorgeous. It's, perfectly balanced. He's got his arms extended. The ball just smashes it. You hear the pop, like you hear the wood on the leather of the baseball, and he's like, oh, that's gone. Yeah, but it fell short. We've seen Judge get robbed a couple times this year, but particularly yesterday against the Orioles, the ballpark, the new dimensions of the ballpark made me feel like, did the Orioles just expand their ballpark because they know they're going to get bludgeoned by the Yankees and some of these other teams? The Blue Jays hit a ton of home runs also. The only way that we can win is to expand our ballpark and keep the balls in play. Because guess what? If the Yankees aren't hitting home runs, they don't have a way to beat us. They can't find a way to get on base and bunt guys over and steal bases. The Yankees can't win that way. Now, maybe part of this is on Brian Cashman and the construction of this team. You get enamored with the success that home runs bring. You win 90-plus games. I think 2016 was the last time they were under 90 games. And you win 90-plus games, and you win 100 games, and 100 games, and you're making the postseason. It's almost guaranteed you're making the postseason. Why? Because you're going to beat up on the little teams because you hit 267 home runs or 306 like you did in 2019. But when all of a sudden the ball is dejuiced and Major League Baseball is giving license for smaller market teams like the Orioles to keep the balls in the park by expanding their ballparks, how are the Yankees going to win? And again, part of this is on Brian Cashman. He had to see this coming. But the Yankees at 500 right now, 5-5, after losing 2 of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles, makes you start to question whether or not this thing really is going to get a chance to turn itself around. I mean, I said this last week. BT wasn't necessarily buying what I was saying, but I felt it in real time yesterday watching the Yankees lose to the Baltimore Orioles. I was only watching because I felt like I needed to watch to see if they were going to win. I was not entertained. When you have base runners on but nobody in scoring position, when you are, I forget what their statistics are right now with runners in scoring position, but it has been horrible with runners in scoring position. They can't bat guys around. They can't manufacture guys around. Everybody's swinging with these launch angles. Even Aaron Judge, who I love, but is swinging with these specific launch angles. And with balls no longer flying out of the ballpark because of their juiced and because the Orioles expanded their ballpark, how are the Yankees supposed to win in 2022? I mean, I know people are saying it's early. Yes, it is early. It's only 10 games in. But at what point do you start to worry that the process by which the Yankees have won in previous years might not work anymore? Now, the good thing is you do have a good staff. Surprisingly good staff after a lot of offseason questions about why the Yankees haven't brought in any starting pitchers. But the Yankees are in a situation right now, and you see it every single night. They are not overly entertaining to watch because they don't get guys on base and advance them and score runs in conventional, meaning old school conventional ways. It's almost like the only way that they can get on the board is if they smash home runs. And Major League Baseball has made a concerted effort over the last couple of years, including allowing the Baltimore Orioles to expand their ballpark so that those 330-foot shots by Aaron Judge actually stay in, get knocked down by the wind, and become outs as opposed to home runs. How are the Yankees going to win? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see where they can manufacture runs in a necessary capacity to win against some of the better teams in baseball. Now, I have to preface this by saying this is only because they just lost 2 out of 3 to a team that's supposed to win 60 games this year. The Baltimore Orioles are supposed to be horrible this season. And I'm not saying they handled the Yankees with ease because Nestor Cortez had a good outing. Severino had good outings. Like the Yankees pitching did their role, but the guys are supposed to be mashing. They're not going to mash. It's just not going to happen. And if they can't do that, if they can't hit 260 home runs or 300 home runs like they did in 2019, how are the Yankees winning? I just don't see it. They strike out a ton. The guys that are supposed to be high on base guys are not. The guys that are supposed to hit for average are not. I mean, there's two guys under 200. Even Aaron Donaldson's hitting at 200 right now. Where is the offense coming from the Yankees? It's getting to the point where you have to start worrying about it. And I certainly, as a Yankees fan, I'm worried about it. 877-337-6666. Now, with that said, there is a good chance that the strength of this Yankees team, and again, this is also early, could become this rotation. And I'm excited about that because I didn't expect this from Nestor Cortez. I didn't know what to expect from Severino. I believe that Garrett Cole will get back to the elite Garrett Cole that everybody expected him to be coming into this season. But the reason that we all stated the Yankees were going to be okay, and we all said it, yeah, the Yankees will be fine. They're gonna beat up on the bad teams. Guess what? They're not beating up on the bad teams. They're not. The balls are staying in the ballpark, and they're not scoring any other way. Zeros. There's zeros on the board against the Baltimore Orioles. How is that even possible? Like if Baltimore's supposed to suck, they don't. The Yankees can't take advantage of it. It's early, but I'm still concerned. 877-337-6666. Let's get Chris up in the Bronx. Chris, welcome to the fan. What's up?
Hey, good morning, Tiki. Thanks for taking the call. I just had a comment on the Yankees. You know, everybody says, you know, we're the same from last year. We're the same from the year before. We can't score. We're running the scoring position.
Yep.
And they say, you know, some of the issues is we're changing the lineup and this and that. But I think the real issue is the Yankees don't know how to finish developing their players. Gleyber Torres was a prospect when he came over. He did great, so we plugged and played and kept him at the position. But I feel like, and the same thing with Gary Sanchez. Once they get to where they get to and they do these miraculous things, the development stops.
Yeah. Well, it's almost Chris, doesn't it feel like a guy gets into the league and does something unexpected? Like, I don't think anybody expected Gleyber Torres to come up from the Yankees farm system and hit 38 home runs. Like, nobody expected that. But then all of a sudden, that's all he thinks he needs to do. Right? He doesn't think he needs to become a complete player. To be able to go the opposite way, to be able to lay down a bunt, right? Do these little things, interestingly, that we see the Mets doing in a lot of ways. At 7-3, the Mets are the best team in baseball right now. But those little things tend to stop because the Yankees are enamored with hitting home runs. And I love it. It's awesome when it's happening. But when the ball doesn't fly out of the ballpark, doesn't it get unwatchable, right? It gets unwatchable at points when everybody's swinging for the fence. And even Judge, who I love, but sometimes I just want to say, square your shoulders back, man. You know, get your swing tilted flat. Just drive a ball into the gap. You're smashing it, right? You're getting great contact on it. Your exit velo is up in the 90s and the hundreds. But that launch angle, they're going to stay in the park now, especially with teams like Baltimore, who is expanding parks and finding ways to manufacture outs as opposed to giving up home runs to the big boys, the Blue Jays and the Yankees in particular. I'm telling you, it's frustrating, and it's frustrating to watch. Let's go to Robbie. Is that Lennox? What's up, Robbie?
Teak, how are you?
I'm good, bro.
Thanks for taking the call. You know, I'm going to go back to Joe Torre in the days where the Yankees were winning championships. He used to talk about small bites. Small bites. Think in terms of small bites. This team doesn't. This is the most unathletic team I've ever seen. I mean, with the exception of a guy like Kiner Falefa, who can't hit a lick right now.
That's right.
The Yankees are as slow as a horse. They're a station-to-station team. This reminds me of the teams in Boston years ago that challenged for championship but never won. You know why? Because they had no speed at the top of the lineup. You look what the Mets did. The Mets got Buck, and sorry, we got Schmuck. I am so tired of Aaron Boone. And his
He did win 100 games,
changes.
though, Robbie. He did win. I agree with you. The lineup changes are frustrating to me.
It's ridiculous.
And you know, it's getting to the point, Rob, where I'm almost like, I kind of like Hicks leading off. As crazy as that sounds.
Well, I think I talked to you and Brandon about that last week, about getting a guy at least that has some kind of speed at the top of the line. I don't love Hicks, but I mean, you got to get somebody that's going to get on base. I mean,
that's right.
Look, he's doing okay so far. I mean, actually, he's like the Ted Williams now of the Yankees. Somebody quoted that on a fan deal. I think Big Moose quoted that. But, I mean, it's like ridiculous to me. But the thing is that when you look at this lineup, the Mets brought in Sterling Marte. Why? They need a legitimate leadoff hitter. If Brian Cashman, with the Yankees starting pitching, I think is going to be good all year. It was good last year.
Yeah.
The problem with this team is that you look at the bottom of the league last year, they were there in terms of scoring runs. You've got to put the ball in play. Go out and get somebody who can legitimately lead off for this team, get on base, put pressure on the defense, put pressure on a pitcher, and then you put your guys like Rizzo behind, and you put LeMahieu. See, I like Rizzo and I like LeMahieu. LeMahieu, though, is a better hitter than Rizzo.
Yeah, agreed.
But if you get those two guys, most of the time, they think in small bites, those guys. Rizzo's not up there trying to hit home runs. Stop trying to hit home runs.
Yep.
Just go out there and make contact.
I agree,
That's
100%, Robbie. Make contact. Exactly right.
Exactly.
Appreciate the call, Robbie.
Thanks.
Love the passion, man. Look, again, I'm going to say this, and I know people don't like Aaron Hicks. They just want him gone. But Aaron Hicks leading off, I don't mind. Right? Yes, they had some on base blunders in this game, but that'll come, I hope, with time. But Aaron Hicks actually has a hustle about him that I appreciated. Right? He legged out an infield hit. There was a throwing error by the shortstop, by the Orioles shortstop. He sailed it, and Hicks wasn't looking down. He wasn't like looking over his left shoulder, looking at the shortstop. Is he going to make this play? Oh, I got to pick it up. He dribbled it out there, and he put his head down, and he just grinded to first base. I love that about Hicks. But from a Yankee squad that is so enamored with hitting home runs, and people have said this, and maybe a month from now I'll be proven wrong, but they're not hitting home runs at the rate that people expect them to hit home runs. The balls aren't flying like they used to. It's cold outside at this point, and you're off to a 500 start, but most importantly, you're losing series to teams like the Baltimore Orioles. And by the way, it's not because you gave up 6 runs in the first 3 innings. That's not why they're losing games. Their pitching has been really damn good, the New York Yankees. Really good. It's because they can't score because they only have one way to score in Major League Baseball. And teams like the Orioles, they're finding ways to prevent the Yankees from doing what they do, which is smash bombs.